Students are going to use AI for their assignments, and that's not inherently a bad thing. But what we want to do is to make sure we put some parameters around the use, set some expectations so that students can use AI, but at the same time, make progress towards the learning objective. And we're going to turn to AI to see how we can do that. Let's go. We're going to do this with a three-part process. And we're going to start by explaining what is the actual assignment about, and then how do we integrate or include potential acceptable uses of AI within that assignment. So let's start by describing the assignment. We've got our grade level, we've got our subject, we've got the specific topic here, and then we have a description of the assignment itself and how long it is and what students are expected to do as a result of this assignment. These are the parts that you're going to modify for your own particular use. So you'll have the same elements, but the details you're going to change, obviously. Then, here's what we're going to add to that prompt. With these assignment details, describe how students might use AI at each of the 5 levels based on the uploaded guide. And that's important. I'm going to put a pinned comment down below, so go see it, and I'll put a link to the 5 levels guide. But basically, it's the 5 levels are from no AI up to co-creation with AI and the stages in between, different ways and different levels of permission that we can give students for using AI. So we've got to feed that into our AI, the actual 5 levels in their description, so make sure you go and get it. Then, based on that, make a recommendation about what might be the most appropriate level and why. Because students are going to use it, but we need to preserve the learning. So at what point can we allow it and what becomes unallowable? And let me show you what I did with this. So I've got my 5 levels guide, which I just dropped into the chat box to upload, and then I've got my full prompt in there. You can also take your existing lesson plan and load that up instead and say, refer to the existing lesson plan and then follow with the boilerplate language in the prompt. That would work also pretty well. Okay, so we've got the prompt, we've got the guide in there, and the first thing it's going to do, as we asked, is tell us at each level what might it look like, how it might apply to that assignment, and over here, responsibilities and limits. What can they do? What can they not do? And it's going to go through each of the levels like that for that specific assignment. So at level 4, they can do this. AI can help with this, but students must still do these things over here to preserve the learning target. Okay, so it's going to go through it. And as a teacher, I would look at this pretty carefully and say, yeah, this is going to be permissible to me, but yeah, I still need students to do that. And that will help me decide which level is appropriate. But we also ask the AI to make a recommendation. So for this assignment, level 2 is the strongest default choice, maybe level 3 in limited cases. And here's why. The explanation, the justification is primarily around what we want students to learn and to demonstrate through this assignment, because those are the things we don't want to turn over to AI. And then all this stuff to get there, students can use the AI for, but not for the core learning outcomes. All right. And an explanation, and then, if we move up to level 3, maybe level 4 and 5 and so on, but here's the assignment suggestion. All right, so that is our starting point right there, trying to figure out what level of use is going to be acceptable. Then we need to take that and we need to apply it to some kind of instructions that we give students. We need to explain it to kids, right? What they can do and what they can't do and what the assignment is expected to accomplish and all of these things. So it's an expanded set of assignment instructions that we give to students that are going to include acceptable use of AI. Now, what is that going to give me? Let me just zip on down a bit. So the prompt itself is this right here, a draft assignment instruction sheet, because we have to give the kids something like, this is a big project, here's what's expected of you. We need to give them the instructions. It also keeps us from having to repeat them 5 times a day for 5 days. All right. And using AI level 2, we went ahead and chose that one for this with the expectations described above. We're doing this all in one thread, so just refer back and for an explanation of what that would look like. I will give this to students before they begin. The part you're going to modify is simply that, where you put in the level. Now we take that prompt, turn it over to AI, and what we've got now is an assignment instruction sheet. What is it about? What are they expected to do? And this is coming from the original prompt where I described the assignment. Now we're turning it into something that we give to the kids. Learning goals, required final projects, all this is coming from up above. Then, AI level 2. And what is it called? And what they might be able to do at that level for this specific assignment. So we've got it down in writing. They can refer to it, and we can refer to it when we are reviewing their final presentations or their final products. Basically, it keeps everybody on the same page. There's no guessing. There's no inconsistency. There's no problem with fairness, and we're still preserving the learning target, which is the important part. All right. And what you may use AI for, what you may not use AI for based on the level that we selected, and then additional details about the assignment itself and the requirements, what they're expected to actually do. So we've taken the AI part and we've modified it, integrated it into the assignment instructions. And just so they know, you're going to have to submit a statement at the end. How did you use AI? And if you didn't, tell us that also. So really good stuff. And then some sample prompts that kids can use. Here we're talking about 8th grade. They might need a little bit of modeling. So that's in there. And expectations and so forth. Even a suggested timeline that we can give to kids. Okay, so really good stuff to clarify not only the assignment, but what's allowable and not allowable for AI use. So we do all that. Now, I said a lot about preserving the learning target. Just like we're going to do with every other assignment, we need to know, did kids actually learn anything from this? Because otherwise, why bother? And that is going to lead us to prompt number 3. Because at the end, whether or not they used AI, we need to know if they learned something from this experience. And one of the reasons why this is so important is if they did use AI, and if they used it inappropriately or beyond the permitted level, did they still learn anything? We need to know, was the learning target maintained as a result of this assignment? So the simple way to check that is to give them a little assessment at the end. I need a short follow-up formative assessment with 5 short answer questions to check for individual learning and understanding of the assignment. This prompt you can use exactly as it is. It's a basic formative assessment prompt for AI. So the first one you modify a lot, second one you just modify the level, and this one you can use as is. So I take that and I turn it over to AI. Eventually we see it, and here we go. 5 questions to determine whether or not students learn something from the assignment. So there you go. There is a quick way to integrate AI and allow AI use in assignments, but at the same time, make sure that we're focused on the learning expectations and discovering whether or not students actually met them. I hope you found this useful. Take care.